How are we doing, everybody? Happy hump day and welcome into the SFS channel here for some more early week lineup advice. This time around, chatting through some week 7 fantasy football. Today in this video, I'll be talking through 5 running backs that I like in lineups here, whether it's a good game script, a great matchup, or some combination of each. I'll be talking through all that and more in today's episode. So as always, you know the drill. If you're new around here, feel free to drop on down and smash that subscribe button, turn the bell on as well, so you're never late for a new piece of fantasy content. I'm posting multiple videos per day here on YouTube, in addition to other platforms as well, and we've got a very interactive community Discord server that's been growing like crazy. Lots of talking and interaction there, so go check that out. There's a free link in the description of today's episode to take advantage of that feature. I may pin a comment as well, depending on the video for today. So with that being said, let's not waste any more time and let's hop on in. Alrighty, as always, once again, if you've watched a start-sit episode from me in the past, what we always do at the top of these videos this season is we break down our picks from week 6 and where we were right and where we were wrong here. So had ourselves a pretty good week this past week in week 6, going 3 of 5 here, 60% correct rate here. Breece Hall, Rhamondre Stevenson, and Ken Walker, who we're going to kick off today's episode with, were our hits for that week's games. Our 2 misses, Jeff Wilson Jr. just got a bad game script, ended up fumbling the ball as well. It's the second time he's lost a fumble this season, so he's ended up having some negative fantasy plays here. And being down 14 points makes it awfully hard to run the ball, so San Francisco really got outside their comfort zone, something I did not expect to be the case here. A fun note here, Atlanta against the spread this season, 6-0. The team that knocked off San Francisco this week, they were plus 6.5 points when we talked through them last week. And then MG3 here, Melvin Gordon, the thumb strikes back. Nathaniel Hackett gives him a 16% snap count percentage against one of the juiciest matchups for the running back position this year, and Gordon absolutely flops as the third back, not even the second running back, in terms of that backfield's snap count percentage distribution. We talked through Latavius Murray and waiver wire ads last few weeks. I did not expect him to come out and be the lead back in this game, although no running backs had plus 50% snap share. So Ken Walker this week taking on the LA Chargers, unless Pete Carroll decides to take a page out of Nathaniel Hackett's book here and start giving DJ Dallas a crap ton of carries here. I'm expecting a very, very good game from this explosive, talented, and productive rookie running back for the Seahawks. I've talked through the athletic measurables, how he projects as a player here, the explosiveness, the one-cut ability, the home run speed. It all adds up to phenomenal capability here. And this past week, he turned that into production. Over a 90% opportunity share of the Seattle Seahawks backfield, ripped a big 30-plus yard run here, had a rushing touchdown as well, averaged over 4.5 yards per carry on the day. So I got efficiency here. I got a good game script. Another matchup where Seattle's a 6.5 point underdog at LA this week, but the 12th man could very easily walk into SoFi Stadium, which for the Rams and Chargers seem to have lackluster fan bases, and they just control that crowd every single week. So this could turn into a home game atmosphere for the Seahawks here. The one thing, actually, it's not even that far of a travel. These are 2 teams playing on the West Coast here. So I like Seattle to A, cover in this game if you're sports betting, and B, you've got a sputtering offense in the Chargers that struggled to put up points in a situation where I think this game is definitely well within a touchdown for 3.5 to 4 quarters of this contest. So I think Ken Walker here in this game becomes efficient yet again, averages over 4 yards per carry in another contest here. This was his first start last week against Arizona. He ended up going out there. They controlled the pace and the tempo of that game. And this Chargers defense has been atrocious. They're 29th against fantasy running backs, meaning they allow the 3rd most points to this position in the entire National Football League. So take advantage of the matchup here again. 90+% opportunity share in week 6. Love everything on the table here for Ken Walker in this week's matchup. How about Rhamondre Stevenson? This doesn't seem like the hottest take in the world here. The reason that I've got him on the list today, as opposed to just having him be a sit and forget type player, is Damian Harris's health being up in the air every week kind of makes this a shakier talking point here because you don't really know how much opportunity share Rhamondre is going to be getting or snap count percentage. What I will note is that in the last 2 games here where he has been the full fire workhorse lead back here, he's had an 86% and 90% snap count percentage respectively between those 2 games. So no Damian Harris means pure absolute workhorse RB1 numbers. When that isn't the case, you're going to see that hover down around 65%, maybe even 60%, depending on how the game goes in that contest. So Harris's involvement, as always, is key here. I do think Rhamondre going forward, though, is the running back to own in this backfield. This matchup, I think, is just going to be an absolute Bill Belichick fest. And what I mean by that is at home, New England's favored by 8 points against Chicago. What does Bill Belichick do against young quarterbacks and bad offenses and rookie head coaches? He stomps them, he crushes them like bugs, and he totally wipes them off the faces of the earth. Like, boom, gone, reduced to atoms. A little, what is that, Avengers Endgame joke there, if you got that. So, a little Thanos joke there. So, Rhamondre Stevenson, I think, just gets a great game script. I think the Pats control the tempo of this game for 4 whole quarters. If you've watched any Bears football this year, you see their incredible lack of dynamic ability. It's Justin Fields running the ball or bust here, or David Montgomery for that matter, getting some big plays. Khalil Herbert ripped a big run last week. If Bill shuts the run down and says, hey, Justin, young quarterback, come beat me with your arm and make the reads that you have to make to hit receivers downfield, he's going to put him in tough situations. Athletically, Fields is capable of doing so. Offensively, they just don't put him in good spots to make those plays, though. So I think this is going to be a lopsided football game. The Patriots, rather, I almost said the Steelers or Pittsburgh for some reason. The Patriots, though, I expect to run up the score here, totally shut down the Bears offensively, and milk this clock late in the game. So maybe his ceiling doesn't get to the highest extent this week, but I expect a very solid floor performance for Rhamondre filling in for Harris, potentially yet another week here. Again, as I said, though, his production's been off the charts without Harris out there. I'd be shocked to see him not be the back to own after he returns here. Of course, his snap count percentage and usage, opportunity share, all that stuff will go down, at a significant rate here, but still loving this matchup. How about Jeff Wilson here? I am ready to be hurt again. Kansas City travels on the road this week to play San Francisco at Levi's Stadium, and I'll be rolling with Jeff Wilson Jr., a 3-point underdog at home yet again in this game. Frankly, I don't think Kansas City has the offensive firepower to get out to a big lead here against the 49ers. Hopefully, they get incrementally healthier this week. I think that'll help their game script a lot if they're able to have more players out there and on the field. But at the end of the day, I don't expect Kyle Shanahan, especially in a home game here, to come out and have 2 sloppy games in a row while his starting quarterback is healthy. I think this offense stabilizes itself a lot more in this matchup. We saw Devin Singletary have 12 fantasy points last week, have 85 yards rushing. There is opportunity to be had here for this offense. They just have to play stably on that side of the ball, limit self-inflicted mistakes here. Jeff Wilson contributed to his own fantasy flaws last week. He was a guy that put the ball on the ground and led to a negative turnover differential and put San Francisco in situations that they did not want to be in. But I'm betting on him to bounce back here. This has been a really great play for me in my start-sit situations throughout this season, and I'm going to continue to put my money on a Kyle Shanahan power-running offense that consistently produces fantasy-relevant backs for the lead in this offensive attack. Before we get into Big Zeke here, we're going to talk through today's sponsor of today's episode, Underdog Fantasy. If you guys have not checked out Underdog yet, there's a link in the description of today's episode. When you sign up for Underdog using code SFS, our promo code here at Sizzle Fantasy Sports, and deposit $10 or more, you're going to get double your money and my weekly positional rankings to help you set your lineups for the rest of this season absolutely free. In addition to that, you're also going to get access to my DMs on our community Discord server to message me your questions about situations, trade advice, anything related to your fantasy team. You're going to have access to message me one-on-one about that stuff through this season's Super Bowl. So that includes any plays you're making during the NFL playoffs. That includes your fantasy playoffs, your fantasy league championship when we get you there, and all that plus more. We've got bi-weekly positional rankings coming out as well in the odd weeks of the season. This is week 7, an odd week, so you're going to get more updated content there. Remember, code SFS for double your money to play with on Underdog for awesome prop bet games in-season drafts. You can play Sunday afternoon slates, draft your team, compete against a pool for just 1 week, and have a super fun time while doing it. So I'll pin a comment in the comment section below. There's also a link in the description of today's episode to take you over to Underdog. Check all that stuff out. The day following your sign up, I will get you access to everything on my website, sizzlefantasy.com, and I'll send you an email setting you up in the Discord server. Ezekiel Elliott here, Dallas. At home, rather. This is incorrect. It should be Detroit at Dallas. This is a game at AT&T Stadium in Jerry World here. Zeke's coming off his game of the season here, and I like him a lot in this spot. When we look at the situation that Detroit has defensively, they were one of the bottom 3 teams in the league in overall scoring defense, and this team has been an absolute nightmare. Yes, they're coming off of a bye week, but really defensively, that's not something that I expect them to plug the holes of and fix their issues on that side of the ball. I expect more struggles here. I expect a Dak Prescott team that may be rusty with that coming back in here to lean heavily on the ground game and consistently continue to move the ball downfield. Now, I think that either Tony Pollard or Ezekiel Elliott will find themselves in a very productive scoring situation in this week's games. However, I'm going to lean on Zeke because of the goal line utility, where there was one instance this season where Tony Pollard ripped a big run and then ended up getting a situation where they gave him the nod in the goal line just because he kind of earned that look. But Zeke is the guy they prefer to use down here. He's the hammer back, the power guy that they want to use in those short yardage situations. So he's coming off his best game of the season. Like I said, he averaged 6.23 yards per carry. Very good against Philadelphia. Who would have thought? Not me. This last week, we had Zeke as a sit, this Philly defensive line. I said, hey, this is a bad matchup for this team. And then you turn on NBC Sunday Night Football and everyone's saying Ezekiel Elliott plays his best football against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm thinking, maybe that's great in the past when Dallas had the best offensive line in football and they were just mowing guys down up front, and he goes out there and does it again. So, hey, what do I know here? We're just having fun with fantasy football, trying to make, logical, educated decisions and choices here. But I do like him a lot in this week's games against the Detroit Lions here. And yeah, that'll move us into our next player. My final start running back here early in the week is Raheem Mostert, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Now, you really love to see these home games for the Dolphins. If you saw last week the insane temperature differential, it was 120 freaking degrees on the Vikings sideline and 90 degrees, which still sounds absolutely hot as balls to me on Miami's bench. But a 30-degree differential is nothing to scoff at here, because that is, you're sweating out just liters of water out of your body and losing a ton of hydration and obviously stamina throughout that game. So didn't work out for Miami last week. They had Skylar Thompson starting at quarterback. The good news here is we expect Tua, who was cleared of concussion protocol, to be back and healthy for this game. So really my analysis is grounded on the fact that I think they ease Tua back into things here. This is a good matchup against a banged-up secondary. No TJ Watt. Hopefully Tua has more time in the pocket here. The Dolphins are favorites by 7 points, so a touchdown at home. That's a good number, showing that they have the potential to control the game script here and really lean on that run game late in the contest to kind of close things out. Raheem Mostert, another interesting stat here, is in his last 3 games played, he's had his 3 highest opportunities in an individual. You look at weeks 4, weeks 5, and week 6. Those 3 games were his highest amount of rushing attempts in individual contests of the year. So he's progressively been getting better here. I did attribute some of that increased volume to the lack of Tua on this offense, but I think that precedent holds true even in Tua's first game back, because they're not going to introduce him back to the field here and have him throw the ball 50 times, or at least I don't think that sounds very logical. So I expect Mike McDaniel to deploy a very balanced offensive attack this week. I think that involves a lot of Raheem Mostert here, and we really know the drill with him. He's insanely explosive. If he finds a crease in open space, he is going to rip off a big carry. His one concern has been durability and at times goal line production. He's been used in that way lately for this Miami team. It was Chase Edmonds early here, but trusting in Mostert as a lower end RB2 for this week, but definitely someone to continue considering for lineups in this week's game. So there you have it. I should have mentioned at the top of today's episode the bye weeks for this week's games. Off the top of my head, I've got the Rams for you, the Chargers. So the two LA teams are out for this week. The Bills are out as well, and I might be missing a final team. I'm going to go check that, and I'll be right back. I apologize, you guys. I stand corrected. The Chargers are on week 8 bye, so we're missing the Eagles and Miles Sanders this week, the Bills and Devin Singletary, the Rams and Darrell Henderson. Cam Akers technically is out, so that kind of sucks for him, actually. He might have 2 bye weeks this season if he gets traded somewhere that hasn't had their bye yet. And then the Vikings with Dalvin Cook. So 3 out of those 4 teams have fantasy relevant running backs. Honestly, you can make the argument for Singletary as well. So 4 teams on bye this week. Again, the running back position feels very, very sparse. So make sure you're making those decisions accordingly, using the waiver wire when need be, and all that stuff. So as always, I'm here to be a tool and resource for you guys. Ask me your questions down in the comment section below. Join the community Discord server. And again, use code SFS on Underdog Fantasy for double your money and access to our entire website and my personal fantasy help here for the rest of this season. And I'll see you there. Peace out.